The US has started to progressively retire all the Ticonderogas. Ticonderogas, at least when I was growing up, used to be the biggest cruisers around. They were the big guys. Lots and lots of firepower. Of course, that typical vertical slab of a superstructure, then that big radar platform, or radar plaque. And I grew kind of sad when these things got retired, because, you know, it's just a sort of monument to my childhood. What if they weren't? There was a project for that. It's the CGX Guided Cruiser X, and with that program, these things were planned to have a life expectancy all the way in the 2050s, which is a very long lifespan for a ship, considering that these things were brought into service in, I believe, the early Cold War. This mod covers what would happen to these ships if they were modernized with all the fancy toys that the US Navy had been developing. So what does this thing do? Well, we have plenty of different gear. At the moment I have access to the Standard Missile 2 medium range. This is however Block 3, so we got a 92 mile range on the Standard Missile 2 medium range. The extended range has a much better range of 200 miles. And yes, you can always make the caveat, yeah, on paper that's 200 miles, but only if the target's flying very high, otherwise you can't even see it. Then we have the Dark Eagle anti-ship missile. Developed in the 2020s, the long-range hypersonic weapon, or LRHW, provides a large supersonic anti-ship missile capability for when harpoons or tomahawks simply will not make the cut. 580 miles. This ship is not going to be spotting for itself when you launch a weapon like that. Somebody, I don't know, half the Mediterranean away is going to go, hey, there's a target here, and your cruiser's going to go, got it, and they'll start out sending these things, the Dark Eagles. These missiles, known as Dark Eagle, equipped the CGX class, Aegis class strike cruisers and have been considered for use on several other designs as a part of the Intermediate Range Conventional Prompt Strike program, the IRCPS. Of course, this is a long range option at 580. We've also got a medium range option, so to speak. The 430s. This is a Tomahawk. New version of the Tomahawk, however, featuring a ramjet, increasing the speed to Mach 3, maximum velocity 2220 knots. This is going to make them far more difficult to intercept by any enemy ship, because they simply don't have a whole lot of time to react. Normally, I think a Tomahawk flies at 550, 540, something like that. And, well, it's not very quick, especially not when compared to the Soviet missiles. But these Tomahawk Zs, hefty speed increase. And with that, most likely going to be a lot more capable of going through. Shortest range option is the Harpoon. I'm laughing because the shortest range is 160 miles, and yes, you can still use standard missiles to blap enemy. Actually, I'm not so sure you can. No, these are just anti-aircraft options right about now. So you can still blap ships 160 miles out, which means that you'll probably use your own helicopter to spot. Of course, you don't just have ships on the surface that need addressing, you can also have ships below the surface that need addressing. Not a problem, we have the VL ASROC ASW. Normally an ASROC has a range of, I think 6 miles, and then the Torpedo, on paper, has a range of 8 miles, but they just normally circle around, doing not much useful stuff. These VL ASROCs have a range of 40 miles, giving you not just a Mark 46, but a Mark 50 ASW torpedo, after flying a ballistic trajectory. Is that Mark 50 actually interesting? Well, yes, I would say so, because it's got about 3 times the range of the Mark 46. It is a successor, it's also far faster, 75 knots. These things used to be in a very tough race if you're facing something like an Alpha. And in this case, the Alpha is not going to get away. 75 knots means you're in trouble. Then we also have some upgrades for the guns. These are high velocity projectile, or HVPs, giving you a pretty impressive 26 mile range with an enormous velocity. I don't know if these are going to be able to shoot down a missile with that speed, but, well, if you get lucky, maybe. It does, however, mean that everything else will have failed. You got 140 missiles to defeat enemy incoming missiles. If even the gun can't cut it, we still have 20mm Seaways. You can see them port and starboard there. And these are now carrying semi-armor piercing high explosive incendiary shells out to 3 miles. 3 miles for, I think, not for APS, for Seaways is actually quite good. Normally they have a range of what, 1.5 or so? Of course, that's not all, because we also got offensive ECM, allowing us to jam in an incoming direction. But don't expect this to be I was gonna say, don't expect this to be jamming enemy warships, but I'd be entirely wrong, because these guys have a range of about 247 miles. Keep in mind, sea power is about 1980s-esque. This ship is designed to go into the 2050s. I don't think having an offensive ECM range of 250 is very realistic, nor useful, because it's simply, the horizon extends to about, what, 25 miles? You won't be jamming targets beyond the horizon, so it's not like you'll easily pick those up. And then we also got noisemakers and chaff. There's also a flight deck, which launches an SH3Z. Now, what can that thing do? This is capable of dropping the Mark 50 and has a whole suite of sensors, including a dipping sensor, with an active range of 26 miles. We have electronic support measures to measure incoming radar signatures. We have a radar warning receiver. We have a universal electronic countermeasure, so this thing might very well jam for itself. Air search directed radar out to 180 miles. Hello. And then we have an air and surface search radar out to 432 miles. And if that doesn't really suit your fancy, we can still use it for ASW activity by just flying over things with a magnetic anomaly detector out to 10 miles. It's a bit futuresque, but then again, given the capabilities of this ship and the fact that she could go all the way into the 2050s, I'm not surprised that she carries all these fancy toys. And especially with stuff like the Dark Eagle developed in the 2020s. That's when they were developed, according to this mod. That, of course, means that they're probably not going to see service until the 2030s. Because a weapon system that is developed, I think, takes, what, 10, 20, potentially 30 years to actually come into fruition. So, we're shooting at targets which are potentially 70 years outdated. Which means that you're not even pitting World War I ships against World War II ships. You're pitting World War II ships against ships which are just slightly past the sailing era. To make a bit of a comparison there. I'm gonna slow down because there was a submarine out there. Let's see what the ship itself can see, because with advanced optics. Yep, there we go. We immediately picked him up again. 8 miles out. We have the SPS-49 air search band. We have this search radar for air and surface out to 432. We got the SPS-55 for 647 miles. Don't know what you're going to see at that range with that radar, because, you know, you simply can't. Hull mounted. This thing is ridiculously overpowered at 200 kilometers. If I ping anything, it's going to come back to me at 70 miles. We have a towed array with a passive range of 250, which is just completely berserk. ESM, ECM, and a magnetic anomaly detector. I'm not sure why you would want this on a ship, because normally you only put this on a helicopter or other aerial platform to allow that thing to start figuring out, oh, there's something out there. I don't know why you would want to have it on this, but okay. Go up to 6,000. Let's activate those sensors. We can see the submarine. We can also see a couple of inbound air contacts that I've put in for this particular scenario. And soonish we'll see another ship formation appear on our west. What I'm going to let this ship do is show me what she's got. I'm going to tell her weapons free, which will allow her to shoot all of these things down. And on top of that, probably deal with the submarine without... Oh, sorry, this thing is not 7 miles out. This thing's 25 miles out. This will probably treat the submarine to an ASROC, which will be fun. So we're going to go air search, surface search, active sonar, towed array, towed decoy, the whole shebang. And let's let her rip.
Birds away, track 7008.
Interesting is that this is a sort of kit-bashed model, I think, which means you don't have to install anything like anchor chain and what was the other? well, those two mods which allow you to, or require you, bloody hell, which are required to import other metal models. In this case, you don't need to, because these VLS, you can see they're just kind of plunked down on whatever used to be there, which is the double rail launcher that the old Tycos used to have. Now, interestingly, we're not actively engaging this yet, whereas we do have range. There it comes. It's apparently part of the VLS over there. So this is going to transit very quickly at just shy of 1,000 knots. Altitude 1,000 feet, and we'll be able to drop a torpedo pretty much on top of that submarine. I don't know how good a Mark 50 is really going to be, because I haven't used them that much. I typically use the Mark 46. Ah, there we go. There's the hostile ships. I'll get to you in a minute. We're picking up their emissions. EM emission, Infinity TW. What the hell is that? It's Griffin 1, it's the Hilo, which has them on ESM. Griffin 1 is still climbing. You can go to 14,700 feet. Feels like a lot. What do we send at the enemy? SM2ER Block 4. Alright. We have 6 missiles airborne. We have 6 targets detected. And this is most likely going to yield 3 to 5 kills. I don't think we'll get all 6. As good as these missiles are, we're still dealing with potentially decoys. There's 1 from the enemy aircraft. There's 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5. Got some shoots coming out as these rats are abandoning the ship. So, that's the air threat no longer being a problem. Over here, we got the torpedo almost arriving at the Alpha. Once it gets there, it'll start chasing it. There's the torpedo getting dropped off. Active, instantly acquired, and we're running at it at 75 knots, and the Alpha goes, holy shit. Yeah, sorry dude, but you're kind of 70 years too old to be running away from stuff like this. Unfortunately, it seems like decoys still work. The Mark 50s are good, but they're not infallible. Which means that this torpedo, like everybody else, can still get fooled. Weapon Seeker, though, is crazy. That thing has a 10-mile seeker? Yeah, it has a 10-mile seeker cone. Okay. Compared to what we normally have in game, that is quite serious. We got a hit. At least it's not an instant kill. So I suppose there's that. Let's see what the damage is like. They have flooding. I'm not seeing any destroyed systems aboard their ship yet. Actually, main power system's been destroyed, rudder system's been destroyed, depth rudder system destroyed, propulsion destroyed. Yeah, okay, they got issues. They have some serious damage and now they're dead. Okay, so I guess those things aren't quite as tough as I thought they would be. Over here we have a couple of surface ships. These are all considered hostile, and you can see that they detected the torpedo as well and decided that throwing a noisemaker was going to be the safest course of action, even though the torpedo was 100 miles out. It's not a fault of the mod, it's just something that the game itself does. Now we are weapons free, but I'm not actually seeing any engagements yet, which is surprising, given the fact that we are in range and my ships are actually allowed to go after them. So let's send 1, 2, I'm going to send a couple of Tomahawks as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, get some harpoons in there as well. 1, 2, with everything that we have been upgrading, the harpoons are still in these canisters here. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So we'll be able to very quickly get rid of these guys. Let's see. These are those LRHWs, the Dark Eagle. 80,000 feet, running at 3,836 knots. Strikes me as hypersonic. That makes these... That's the RGM-84. What is these then? Where are the Tomahawks? We didn't actually launch any. Okay.
Track 7032.
No, I guess I launched multiple Dark Eagles. I am very fearful for the Soviet Navy. Because I don't think they'll have much of an opportunity to respond, if any. Which, of course, is ideal for getting a bunch of kills, but from a gameplay perspective, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. There. Everybody's been hit. Twice. Now come the Tomahawks, I think. Yeah, Tomahawks easily overtaking the Harpoons. This makes the Harpoons at 576 knots look positively slow. Oh, we've killed all 4. Jesus. Including a Cresta-class cruiser. These things are not small. There was a castback oiler in there, as well as a cash-in and a cannon. And I think these guys never stood a chance. So, yeah. Future gear. This thing is going to need some serious competition. And with Dark Eagles, I think even the toughest ship that the Soviets have, which is the Kirov, is not going to cut it. So if you want to use these things in any kind of a scenario, either you're going to be massively, massively overpowered, or you will need to use something else. Something different, something that is going to give the Soviets a very serious advantage. Now there are mods that do that, so look into some of those, giving the Soviets, for example, the better upgraded versions of the Kirov. I think those would be really only some of the serious competition to these things. Because even like a full wing of aircraft carrier loadout is not really going to be that much of a problem. If I spot your carrier, I will destroy your carrier unless it's more than 580 miles out. As the carrier most likely doesn't have an answer to something this fast. So that is the CGX. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Down in the description you can find this mod linked. You don't need to have any dependent mods installed. This thing is completely vanilla. Believe it or not. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. And if you have any other mods that I should cover, by all means, let me know down below in the comments.